The morning mist hung low over the quiet riverbank in a small town just outside Asheville, where fishermen often gathered before sunrise. Among them was a golden-coated Labrador Retriever named Buddy. Buddy belonged to an elderly widower named Thomas, who had adopted him from a rescue shelter 2 years earlier. Since then, the two had been inseparable. Every morning, they followed the same dirt path to the river, where Thomas would cast his line, and Buddy would sit faithfully at his side. But on this particular morning, something was different. The river was higher than usual after a night of heavy rain. The current churned angrily, swirling around rocks and fallen branches. Thomas settled into his folding chair, unaware of the danger lurking beneath the rushing water. Buddy, however, sensed something was wrong. His ears perked up, his body stiffened. A low growl rumbled in his chest as he stared intently downstream. Then he began to bark. At first, Thomas chuckled. "What is it, boy?" he asked, assuming Buddy had spotted a squirrel. But Buddy didn't stop. His bark grew louder, sharper, urgent. He ran back and forth along the riverbank, paws splashing in the mud, eyes fixed on a spot near a bend in the river. Thomas followed Buddy's gaze and squinted through the mist. That's when he saw it, a faint movement in the water. At first it looked like debris caught in the current, but then it moved again. It was a man. The stranger was barely visible, clinging desperately to a partially submerged tree branch lodged between two rocks. His face was pale, his strength clearly fading as the powerful current pulled at him. He must have slipped while hiking along the upper trail and been swept downstream. Without hesitation, Buddy bolted toward the water's edge, barking furiously. Thomas's heart pounded as the reality sank in. He quickly grabbed his phone and dialed emergency services, his voice trembling as he described the situation. But the man didn't have much time. As Thomas spoke to the dispatcher, Buddy did something astonishing. He dashed into the shallow edge of the river, gripping a long fallen branch in his mouth. Fighting against the cold current, he dragged it as far out as he could without losing footing, positioning it toward the stranded man. The man's eyes fluttered open at the sound of the relentless barking. Spotting the extended branch, he made one last desperate effort. With shaking hands, he reached out and grabbed it. Thomas dropped the phone and rushed forward, carefully stepping into the water. Together, with Buddy anchoring the branch and Thomas pulling with all his strength, they managed to guide the man toward the shore. Moments later, sirens echoed through the trees as paramedics arrived. The rescued hiker was wrapped in blankets and taken to the hospital, weak but alive. Before being loaded into the ambulance, he looked toward Buddy, tears mixing with river water on his face. "That dog," he whispered, "wouldn't stop barking." Thomas knelt beside Buddy, wrapping his arms around the soaked Labrador. "Good boy," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. From that day on, the story spread throughout the town. People spoke of the brave Labrador Retriever who refused to ignore danger. And every morning by the river, Buddy still sat faithfully beside Thomas. But now, he was known as a hero who barked until a life was saved.